option 1, which is various rates based on location of the hangar, amenities in the hangar, size of the hangar. And then the option 2 is essentially just a flat rate for all the hangars. And the flat rate that I'm proposing, at least initially, is 35 cents a square foot, which is equivalent to the buildings in the industrial area, which all rent for 35 cents a square foot, even if it's just a storage unit, for example. The other benefit, obviously, being on the flight line is you're behind the fence, you're right on the taxiway. So my recommendation is that we adopt a schedule that has various rates for the individual hangars based on location, size, amenities, and that kind of thing. So this is the rate structure that I came up with. The other thing that I would suggest is, rather than implement the rates immediately for the folks that are currently renting hangars, we have an escalation plan over the next 12 months to bring it up to this new market rate at the end of 12 months.
Move to approve recommended action.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any public comment on this matter? Any further discussion from the board?
So, to be clear, this is our month-to-month.
Yes, everybody that's in a T hangar is currently on a month-to-month term.
Okay.
Some of the larger hangars, I think 915A might be the only one currently on a term, but they're all relatively short-term.
So, but that term, there's a lease involved in, so that,
Correct.
that term of whatever they signed up for is that until they renegotiate?
Exactly.
I just want to be clear.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all I have. And you're suggesting a ramp up over 12 months, and when you're going to implement this?
So right away, if we can start September 1st with the escalation plan. And just to clarify, the escalation plan would only apply to the people who are currently under contract. So if there's a hangar that's empty today, then we'd run it for this rate today.
My comment would be, what I like about it is there are some hangars that are better than others, there are some that are worse than others. The ones that are not ideal are getting below what would be the standard rate. And they can choose, somebody who wants to save some money could choose a hangar like that if they wanted to, or the people that want the best can get the best. So I think it's reasonable, as opposed to you'll have somebody who's very unhappy if they have to pay the standard rate and they're getting a hangar that's the dust is blowing in.
That's the basic way real estate is written, sold.
Location, location, location.
Any further discussion? There being none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There being none, motion passes. Item C, please.
And water line expenditure, Dave is actually here. I asked him to join us in case there's any specific questions about this. So back in April, the board approved this expenditure of $52,000 to repair the water line at Hangar 210, which is from this hangar. So there was a line break. It was able to be isolated until we could actually get in there, dictate the concrete, and fix it. So we had gotten fixed price contracts from the contractors once the concrete was removed. There were a couple of additional pieces that we needed, and we didn't have them on hand. We had ordered a lot of the materials in advance. We didn't have these exact pieces on hand. So the contractors, to finish the work, went and purchased these pieces. It's only $2,200, but because it was part of the bigger project, I do request board approval so that we can process the remaining invoice and close this out. We didn't get this from them until July 31st.
Has the work been done already?
It's completed, yeah.
Okay, so we can disapprove it.
Yeah.
So you're taking a risk here. I don't understand why you're coming to the board with
I
$2,200.
have to, because the board approved the bigger project, and once the board approves the bigger project, any follow-on to that technically needs to be brought to the board.
Technically.
Is there any public comment on this item?
What technical thing are we quoting that says technically you want to bring it back?
Generally, the practice is the manner in which something is adopted and the manner in which it is changed. And so if it's a resolution, you do a resolution to change a resolution, you do an ordinance to change an ordinance. Since this is a board-approved action, if you're changing something that the board has authorized, you bring it back to the board to authorize whatever that change is. Now, you can specifically delegate that authority and put whatever parameters you want on it. But in this case, there was no delegation to the GM to make any changes to what the board approved.
What is the GM's, I thought the GM had blanket approval up to a certain amount of money for anything.
That's not necessarily for anything. So if
What is it for?
If let's say, okay, so if I come to the board with a $54,000 request rather than a $52,000 request, it's kind of the same thing. So that's basically what I'm doing, is instead of asking for $52,000, I'm asking for $54,400.
But you've already spent it.
We've already spent.
So you're asking for permission.
We have not spent the $2,200.
The work was completed, right?
These invoices just came to us.
But you already spent it. If they did the work already, you authorized them to do the work,
We did.
then you already spent it.
Yeah.
So now you're coming to the board for forgiveness.
Motion to approve.
I got something to say, and I'll second it. And I have a comment, and this is to avoid the situation where 6 months from now, somebody comes in, either on the board or advice, hey, how come the board, the president, the CEO approved something and you guys didn't know anything about it? So I think it's good.
Yeah.
Okay, my personal feeling was within your rights to do that. You need to come back and notify us, but that's my personal feeling. Okay.
We have a motion and a second for approval. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Nay. Motion passed.
Feeling. So we had gotten another quote from Environmental Concepts. This is, again, it's another one of those scenarios where the board had approved the $40,000 expenditure for the equipment rental and the material. I don't want to go over that $40,000 without getting board approval on this. So what we're asking for is to purchase another half truckload. We ran into a situation, and I talked with Director Evans about this last week, where the company that we get this material from was running very low on it, and we had to make a decision to purchase it, or it was going to be a 6 to 8 week lead time to get any additional material. So I made that decision last week after talking with council and with Director Evans, so that we did not run out of material. But I expect that we're going to need another half truckload at least before the end of the summer. If it turns out we don't need all of it, we can always store it until next year. But I expect we'll use all of it. So not only do we still have a lot of work to do on the taxiways and runways, we do have one customer request so far to seal their ramp. So I expect we'll probably use all the material.
Any public comment? Any board questions or comment?
Yeah, okay, so again, I asked the question, what's your spending authority? What's the number?
It's $25,000.
Okay.
But again, this was the crack sealing material that we were expecting to use this summer, and we're just using it up much more quickly than we thought. So since the board had approved the original $40,000 expenditure, this is why I'm bringing the $20,000 expenditure back to the board.
Yeah, you already spent the money.
This is above.
Which is within your authority. I think it's within your authority.
This is above and beyond. So the total amount that we will have spent on crack sealing materials is $80,000.
This is an additional, she's asking for us to approve an additional 2,800 up and above the 20,000 she made the decision to spend for the extra half load.
Yeah.
So moved.
I mean,
But again, the money's been spent.
yeah, I kind of have, I have heartburn from another angle of it, and from another angle, and that is that if she has authority to spend, well, whoever's in that position has the authority to spend a certain amount, I think that's great, but how many times can they spend that amount? We could come in, they've approved 100 $25,000 bills, and then we get it after the fact. That's the issue I have. But
I have a question.
go ahead, Jim.
I think you have a motion in a second.
Yes, I do. Did you have a question?
Are we, okay, so,
It's just replying to what your comment was. I have a question about that too over the years, but it's never.
it's not 2,800, you're asking for an extra 21,000, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which you've already ordered.
We have not ordered this batch.
You haven't.
So.
Obviously, you haven't getting
At the
approval
end of
for
the day, there's gonna be 3 different orders. The first one that the board approved in July for
Okay.
$40,000,
which already came, right?
which already came. We're using that now.
And you're
The
running,
sec-
and you're running low.
And we're running low.
Okay.
So last week, when we got notified from the company that if we don't order what they have in stock today, it was gonna be another 6 to 8 weeks before we could get any additional material. So my advice from council was to talk with 2 directors about getting some, some sense of approval that it would be okay for me to order that second load for 20,000. So I did that last week, just so we didn't run out.
So you did order?
Yes, I ordered that. This is a 3rd order. This one right here, item C, is a 3rd order.
So you already ordered, how much was the one you already ordered?
20,000, same thing, it's a half truckload.
So, but you're not asking us for permission on that one?
I'm disclosing it, that I had authorized it, because if we didn't, we'd run out.
I guess I don't understand. The original order, I'm with you. You made another order, probably the right decision, because it was gonna run out, and you spent that money. But you're not asking for permission for that money, you've already done. But now you're asking for permission for a 3rd one.
Right.
But you didn't ask for permission on the 2nd one, so I don't understand why you're asking for permission on the 3rd one.
Because
It's a
for
good question.
this particular contract, so how the practice for the GM in the past has been, say like 25,000 per project or per contract. So if the total amount of the work would exceed the GM's authority, then the GM would come into the board for approval. In this case, Karina is seeking authority for $40-some thousand total. She would not have authority under the admin code to approve this second order of 20,000, 21,000, whatever it is, because it's all under the same contract.
That's the same amount the second order was for?
Correct.
So, again, my biggest problem here is that I'm not questioning your, I think you probably made the right decision on the second order. What I'm questioning is we have no consistency in what we're asking for approval for and what we're not asking for approval for, and that's my problem. So, either you have the authority to have spent the second one or not, but you said you kind of asked board members, but you didn't really bring it to the board. And then the 3rd one, you're asking for permission. I understand the logic, maybe on the 3rd one, but also don't. So, I don't know. It's just the whole thing seems a little bit, we seem to be inconsistent.
Well, I, again, appreciate the CEO keeping the board informed of what's going on, and this is kind of an unusual situation.
When did you spend the second one?
Last week. We ordered it last week.
And again, don't get me wrong, I'm not questioning your decision. I think it was probably a good decision. I'm happy with it. But on this one, officially, you're not, until we had the discussion, you're not, I don't see anything on here about disclosing the second order.
I did write it in the background, and it's also in the CEO report.
In the 4th line, she said she approved the 20,000.
Oh, well, I see, I thought that was towards this one. So, okay, so 21 and 21. Okay.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
How do you miss about 50%? Is it more area than we figured? Who did the math?
What do you think, Harold?
It's a crapshoot.
Is
You're out
that,
there.
I mean, there must be a formula now, so next year, whenever we do this again, we can.
Did we crack seal last summer? At all? We did? Just must have been minimal.
Any further comment? Any public
I think
comments?
there needs to be some consistency both for the general manager's CEO's benefit and for our benefit. But again, I'm not questioning the motive or the logic of the decision. I'm just questioning the consistency.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed?
Nay?
Motion passes.
Down $175,000. That was due to us paying the CalPERS unfunded liability last month. And then as well as we purchased
I was going to say crack sealing.
all the crack sealing material. And all the, in addition to the additional expenses is due to the additional fuel. We actually sold 186,000 gallons of fuel in the month of July, so we had a really good month in July with fuel. And then the report, we kind of want to change up. There's a report, the revenue expense summary. You can see after the graph on the financial reports, This is something we can generate directly out of Dynamics, so we can actually print it out on Friday, so it'll have more up-to-date information. And it's mirrored just like the budget, so we'll be able to do a side-by-side comparison. It doesn't have the graphs and the pie charts, but it is the information getting pulled directly from the system. So I don't know if you have any discussions or any questions on that.
I have some comments on it, but I'll make them offline.
Okay.
Any questions from the board on these reports?
How are we tracking, the hangars we purchased recently? Where are we tracking those? They're not in the budget, right?
They'll be in the capital expenditures, but ultimately they're gonna be capitalized, so they'll be in fixed assets when we do the full financial reports every year.
On the monthly report, they'd show up on the last page as a non-operating expense. In this case, in particular, you see a non-operating expense for other there, Hangar 942 is what that 51,858 is. So it would show up as a, because this is a sort of a revenue and expenditure, a modified cash basis, it's both accrual
Yeah, because I'm
and
getting
cash.
really confused over here.
Well,
I don't see the hangar, so the other is the hangar?
yes.
Okay. Can we do better than other, when it's a big number like that?
Yeah, and as we grow this report, we'll be able to itemize it for
Oh, yeah, we just put other hangar 90, whatever. Okay.
Any other comments? CEO report, please.
There's one thing in particular that I wanted to discuss with the board, which is the last item, but there's another piece I just wanted to make sure the board is aware. I'll be coming to the board next meeting, September 6th, for a rather large expenditure for road repairs. So we're in the process right now of getting bids. We don't know exactly how much those bids are going to be, but we're estimating anywhere between $70,000 and $120,000 to do road repairs.
Is that the budget?
Sorry?
Is it in the budget?
Yes.
Okay.
And this is Airport Boulevard and Savage that they're potholing, they're cracking. So the last time we did these repairs was in the winter of, gosh, it might have been 12 or 13. And it just didn't hold up because we just didn't do it in the right season. It was too cold. So if we can get them done in September, that would be ideal. If it goes beyond September, I'll probably recommend we just wait until next summer. So that's just a heads up, that'll be coming next board meeting. What I wanted to discuss with the board is this Kern County grant that we got from Air Quality Management for the car charging stations for $50,000. When this came up in July, there was a little bit of discussion about where we would locate the car charging stations. There's a rather significant cost reason that we want to locate them, where it's shown in the image here. And if the board has concerns about taking up spaces from the Voyager, then what we can potentially do is either put a time limit on them or just say like for certain hours that the parking is a free-for-all, that they're not necessarily used for charging.
I was gonna say, that was probably gonna be your bigger problem, is that somebody like me pulls in and says, well, heck, I'll just park right there.
Yeah. It may happen anyway.
Oh, by the way, I mean, somebody who drives an electric car, they're probably a hiker or something anyway, so it's fine for them to walk home. They wanna do the green things.
The issue really is a matter of infrastructure, so if we don't put them right next to the building where we already have the infrastructure, then we're tearing up the parking lot potentially and putting power in somewhere else.
What about putting them down at the end of the building?
Kevin can probably talk to this a little bit, Kevin or Harold, but there's a reason that they wanted them right here. Right next to
The power is right here, so anything we do, we move them anywhere, we're gonna have to trench through the parking lot and move.
Yeah, I don't like that location, quite honestly.
I don't either, and I realize the cost associated with it, but I think that's premium parking there, and if the restaurant were ever to expand, it could even be more, could even be in the way. Plus the future growth of this, I think electric vehicles are gonna be the new thing coming forward, and we may expand the location. So what I'd like to see is an area, it may cost a little more, but an area that we can do this to that doesn't affect customer parking for the restaurant.
What do we think that, as it is right in this spot, what do we think the total cost is?
I don't know we expect to incur any cost here.
Total cost is just under 50,000.
So the grant would have gonna cover it basically.
It's gonna cover it all, 100%.
Okay, so if we move it anywhere else, we have to pick up the cost of running the power to that spot.
Correct.
Let me ask something, and I'm just shooting. We do have infrastructure in the ground that goes from this building over to where the old solar array was. Is it possible to use some of the conduit?
That area is gonna have additional cost too, because it's not paved there, it's dirt.
No, I know that, but I'm just thinking of an area one that could be developed in the future. You may have 20 or 30 cars 15, 20 years from now.
Don't you have power in the legacy park?
I don't know how much, do you know how much they need specifically for this?
Well, they just have to, it's just
It's
a
gonna be
hook
quite a
up to the power, yeah, it's not.
What about this area right over here across, you know, where they ran the line over, to get rid of the stupid power pole? That was parked right out here. You know, we were talking about putting the caboose over there one time.
With the generators.
Yeah, there's a
Oh,
generator.
okay.
I think rather than us trying to figure it out, but let's, me personally, it sounds like Jimmy, but I don't want to speak for Jimmy, don't like where you're putting it. I understand why it's the shortest run, but let's look at some other spots and then see what the cost would be.
Okay.
I agree with that.
You would-
Especially plus then we could expand. If it was another place,
Get a
we'd start out
couple
with 2
different
spots and we could go to 6 or 8 or 10 if we wanted to do that.
Yeah.
We already lost parking spots, you know, I'm a person who uses handicap zones, but we've lost a couple of parking spots because of that. This is a real busy place.
Yeah. We intend to revamp our parking lot on the administration side and put a handicap space over there.
Yeah, you definitely.
Well, then now might be the time to be digging that up if you're going to be.
I have a comment, if I can. I'm actually thinking if you put the spots in there and you put the hour time limit on it, it's gonna help the restaurant, because you're gonna bring people in who are gonna actually charge their car, who are gonna go to the restaurant, who may not have, and also if you put the hour time limit on it, you're gonna stop the people who do park there all day long. They can't park there all day long because there's an hour time limit on those spots. And there's some people who park here all day long just for parking.
Good point.
So those are just my comments.
Who's going to enforce the
on the
hour?
whole situation?
Anthony's actually, when they put the Tesla spaces in there.
They have 30 minutes, but I think an hour gives you more time to eat lunch.
Yeah.
So those are just
Who's
my
going to enforce
comments
the
on
time? And how?
We got a motorcycle.
Do you go out there and shake your finger at them, or you can't give them a ticket?
People will walk. If they've got a charging station over there, what are they going to do? Sit in their car? No, they'll walk over.
So you could put a sign up already to put 1 hour parking for this whole thing if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But again, who's going to enforce it and how?
Yeah.
It's our parking lot. Voyager doesn't rent any of the spaces over here, so it does belong to the district.
Yeah, but it helps their.
Maybe they need to.
Well, you know, there are still people that are honest and obey stuff like that, so it might just, we could try it that way and see what happens.
Yeah, most people are happy to abide by the honor system.
Have you ever talked to Anthony about how that works down there?
Yeah, and it's funny, because every time I'm there for lunch, there's at least 1 or 2 Teslas that are there, and they all go into Anthony's.
No, they come into my store too. They walk around.
I think anybody can park in those spots, but there's a limit for that.
There is a limit, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know.
I think they're probably hoping somebody comes in and gets charged and gets somebody.
So what we can do is come back to the board with maybe a couple different options, and maybe it'll depend on the cost ultimately and what we would estimate to care for the parking lot.
By the way, that car parks there all the time. Does that belong to the restaurant?
No, here.
Yeah, I think this location is really short-term thinking. I think moving out in the future, the charging stations will be a big deal. Having them will be an asset for us, for our tenants, and for customers, for the restaurant and everything. So I think you have an area where you can expand it.
You know, I got an app that shows where all the charging is. It's amazing how many there are in Mojave now. The trailer park, all kinds of highway patrol, you know, we've got these things here, we see more and more. And it helps bring people in.
Okay.
Business is booming because of our electrical parking spots. All right. There are no board committees, but